Emily Elizabeth, and I'm the host of the What Fulfills You podcast, a show for and about individuals always seeking to be their best selves. On this show, we talk all about building the mindset, finding the right careers, creating meaningful relationships, and so much more. Welcome to the What Fulfills You podcast. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of What Fulfills You. My name is Emily Elizabeth. I'm your host. And on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing my format for reframing the things in my mind. And I specifically use this method, especially when I am ever in a rut or I'm just not in the brightest mood or I am hyper focused on the negative rather than the positive. And this is essentially a parallel to gratitude practice, but maybe just like a different way to go about it. This is actually something that I learned in therapy a while back. And so ever since I have practiced it, I notice the small shifts it has made for me. And I want to be candid that the reality for most of us is that we don't constantly go days in a good mood and we don't constantly go days in a lesser great mood. It actually more often than not fluctuates throughout the day. And, sometimes you will have like a completely amazing day, and sometimes you will have just very lower frequency feeling weeks, right? And so that is unfortunately just part of life and the nature of life. And the way I try to approach things is more focused on how can I make this scenario better? How can I lighten the load on myself? How can I make it 1% better, right? If it's going to be if it's going to be this way, how can I make it a little bit better? And so in this practice, it is focused on thinking and writing and sharing out loud about how lucky am I? And this is something that I typically write down. So, in place of a gratitude practice, and in place of saying, I am grateful for, I write down, how lucky am I to dot, dot, dot. And then I list out a bunch of different things with no specific structure, no order, just writing down how lucky am I to, be able to do XYZ, or real examples. Like I'll just share things I've written down in the past. Like I have written down, how lucky am I to be in Milan right now watching figure skating at the Olympics? How lucky am I to have a great friend like my dear friend Elia? So this is stuff that I was writing about when I was in Milan. How lucky am I to have Elia and his girlfriend come visit me and spend the day with me while I'm in Milan? How lucky am I to have XYZ friends to talk to when I'm feeling stuck? How lucky am I to have clients that appreciate my work? How lucky am I to have a business that earns income, that takes care of me and helps me pay for food and a comfortable lifestyle in New York? How lucky am I to have the flexibility to be in Paris? How lucky, So the point, I don't want to just keep going on about this list, and I'm not even looking at my journal. This is just things that I remember that I have written down. But within this practice, just like with gratitude practice, you start to realize how easy it is to forget how those simple, mundane things are actually just luck. And it could go away at any point. And it's important to recognize how lucky you are to have those opportunities. And so, for example, I have seen people, particularly entrepreneurs, let's say they're having a bad moment, or they're having a period where they're not fully getting what they want, or they haven't achieved whatever goal that they set out to, right? As an entrepreneur and as someone that is quite goal driven, I have had to learn how to remain focused on how lucky am I to even be in this place, because it is once a place that I dreamed of being, which is in this case, like having my own business, paying my own bills, paying my New York rent, working for myself, I focus on that instead of, oh, wow, I'm not at this point yet, or, oh, this goal hasn't been met. Because when we focus on what we don't have yet, it is very easy to spiral into a more, what I call a lower negative frequency. And then we carry that within our body. We walk around with that energy. We approach other people with that energy. We have that energy in our relationships, in our friendships. And so, a tangent with that, I would also add to this, is how important it is to also surround yourself with people who have this practice and practice this consistently. And it can be any kind of gratitude practice or any kind of practice that enables them to continue to not just think positive, because that's so basic, but the way I frame it in my mind is being around people that are more consistently in a light frequency, a lighter frequency, a lighter energy, like you just feel it with them, rather than a lower, angry kind of oriented frequency. And again, you can feel this around certain people. So, for example, I have felt the impact when I started practicing this and I was around someone that just continued to have a more cloudy frequency, as I would call it. And it really stumped on me. I really just couldn't wrap my head around, why does this person have stronger tendencies to be more pessimistic or low frequency, or in this kind of angry state of mind, almost not that they were ungrateful, but they were constantly, I think, in the frame of mind of this isn't enough or I'm not there yet. And again, I get it, even as an entrepreneur, as a former athlete, as a goal-driven person. But we also got to realize that there is more to life than the things that we are trying to achieve, And it's not to say that the things that I want to achieve are not that important, because they are to me, but you have to find a balance between shooting for that vision and also not being so attached to if and when it happens, and not being so attached to the point where it affects your emotions. It affects how you feel about yourself and your sense of identity. So, on the flip side, when I have been around people that practice this element of gratitude or recognizing how lucky they are to be in a certain position, I notice that my frequency just matches better with them. I notice not only that, but my frequency gets pulled up towards where they are, and it remains in that place because now this lighter frequency, this this energy of, oh wow, how lucky am I to, we're all combining forces and we are feeding off of each other's energy in that way. I feel like there's often that saying about how misery loves company. And I would say that also kind of goes the same, vice versa, in the sense of, if misery loves company, if misery loves to be around more miserable people, obviously that's going to be very clashing if you are around someone that is kind of miserable. You feel the dissonance. And on the flip side, if you're around people who are lighter and constantly joyous and trying to bring the energy into more of that space, you will also feel that, and it's very contagious. And so that's what I would say is like almost like a double hack. Like, not only am I trying to write these things down on a frequent basis, recognizing how a very simple thing is a stroke of luck and is beautiful for me to even experience and have in this life, but also I can increase the frequency that I'm in just by being surrounded by other people that are like that too. And so, if you do sometimes feel more neutral or just not in the greatest space, it can be helpful to be surrounded by more people that are more optimistic, forward thinking, because that is likely going to influence you to shift towards that direction. Because if you are self aware about it and you know you want to be more optimistic, more positive, more light, more freeing, more growth oriented, your brain is going to want to work towards the surrounding that you're in. So be very mindful with the environment you put yourself in, obviously mentally. So, again, having this practice and trying to do it on a daily basis so that you remember the things that you write down, but also the people that you are in frequent conversation with. All of it adds up to your mental and physical environment. And as with a lot of things in life, the consistency compounds over time and impacts the trajectory of which direction your life is going to go. I hope you enjoyed this short and sweet episode that was good for some food for thought. And as always, if you enjoyed this topic or recent topics, I would love to hear from you. Send a DM on Instagram at What Fulfills You or at Emily E. Duong. If you haven't yet, rate and review the podcast on Apple or Spotify. It just takes a few seconds. And that is all I have for today. Thank you again, and I will chat with you all in the next